What's going on, everybody? Seaman City Chatter Podcast live coming to you from the Opoka Palace. As always, to my right, Mr. John Opoka. He's working hard tonight.
Well, I am. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great.
You've been the world traveler.
Yeah,
this week,
I've been.
You went to a Hollywood premiere.
I was at a Hollywood premiere on Thursday night. Will Kaufman, he's a great action director. His latest movie called The Channel.
Man, I tell you what, I cannot wait to see that movie.
Yeah, it was good. Is that Max Martini is the lead actor, and then of course Midlothian's own Mike Lobo Daniels is in the movie, so that was pretty fun.
I'm just actually glad that I can actually see it now.
Yeah, it's
without
good.
Subscribing to the devil.
And to my left is Tiffany and Tim. They're huddled up together tonight.
Tiffany and Tim.
Brothers and sisters don't like to share.
For a real exciting show. I've really been anticipating this, and I think everybody here in Ellis County that watches our show and beyond will be just as thrilled as I am. But before I get to the reason why, and as you might can see on the screen or not, but we got John Knight here tonight. All you guys know who he is. He's done a lot for the city and continues to do a lot for our city and our community. Got to know John here this past year working on the bonds for the school district. Put a lot of hard work in there. And the man across from me needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him a proper one regardless.
You mind the guy after the reason we're not excited when you introduce John?
That's exactly right.
Before we get to the one that excites us, let's just talk about John.
Absolutely. Yeah. Guys, it's an honor to have Mr. Dale Hansen in the studio tonight. We're going to talk to you guys about what he's been doing and what's here to come. But before I get there, John, why don't you just let everybody know why we're
thanks
here
for having
tonight.
us on. We appreciate it. So, as if you've watched Dell on TV for a long time, you know that he used to do great big birthday parties, and I've been after him for better part of 10 years to do one more. I met him and became friends kind of at the end of his parties. I think I went to 2 at his house, and no, they're too much work, they're too much going on. And so we're going to have Dell's 75th birthday party at the Texas Theater in Waxahachie on July 22nd. And so it's going to be a big night, big party. He's got a musician, I'll let him tell you more about, that he met at a Super Bowl party when the Cowboys actually won Super Bowls.
Back in the day.
Oh, I was going to say.
Anybody about
call back to
it. We'll find out who's 35 and younger, because they won't remember the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl. But
they can Google that.
Yeah.
Be very careful. I'm still a diehard Cowboy fan. I was in Pasadena.
I'm a diehard Cowboy fan.
Were you there?
I was there. Yeah, my dad took me. I saw Michael Jackson too.
Yeah.
I still have the seat cushion, the AT&T seat cushion that they gave, and inside was a laminated card, and you were instructed during the halftime show to hold up that laminated card, and that was when he was doing Heal the World. And it's a children's drawing that when everybody puts their card up,
How did Michael Jackson do that? Was that simply just a look-alike? Because he was on the field at one point,
and then he was up top
on top of the press box or the scoreboard,
and he went down into the box and then came
amazing.
up in the stage.
It was a tremendous halftime show. And since you were there, don't you agree? Every major football game should be played at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
That was fun. It was
tremendous.
Now, mind you, in 1993, I was born in '79, so I was 13, 14 years old, and I still appreciated it, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I think an adult might have at the time appreciated the venue a lot better, but it was pretty cool. And you remember who did the national anthem that year?
Whitney Houston.
Absolutely.
Wow, you saw Whitney Houston?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Who should also sing every national anthem.
Absolutely.
But we can't do
she
that
was
anymore.
One of the best.
No, would be pretty special if we could.
Pretty special.
Well, we could. We could do what they call that, hologram or something.
Yeah, they do that.
They do.
But you had Whitney Houston, starting with, again, it's just an unbelievable sighting. And thanks for playing along, John. It's nice to have you here. It was incredible venue. Then here comes Whitney Houston for the national anthem. The football game itself turned pretty crazy pretty quickly. But from a Cowboys perspective, a lot of fun. Then Michael Jackson puts on just this unbelievable show at halftime. And then I got in trouble because I think he was singing at that time, Looking at the Man in the Mirror.
Right.
And I said, if Michael Jackson is looking at the man in the mirror, there's another guy standing next to him.
Exactly. But think about it. But,
you can edit that out if you need to.
No, absolutely not. But think about it. What came out of that Super Bowl was literally what's arguably the greatest national anthem of all time, and one of the greatest halftime shows.
I think without question.
I mean, you guys saw 3 things that will never happen again.
Yeah.
This is leading
Michael
to a
Jackson.
Cowboy.
Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
But as John said, that's where I did run into. I did run into Jason D. Williams at the post-game party.
Right.
And it was down the road at some huge arena, and it was just an unbelievable party. And Mark Chestnut and Tanya Tucker and Gary Busey had a band at the time, the actor, and he could sing pretty well. And they're all up there, but there was thousands of people just mingling around in this huge auditorium. And then all of a sudden, this young kid starts pounding on the piano, and I promise you this is true. Everybody's head just kind of turned, and they just started gravitating toward the stage. And only to find out later, it was a guy named Jason D. Williams.
Wow.
And he is basically Jerry Lee Lewis on steroids.
Wow.
And he just went nuts. So after he got done playing, the crowd went absolutely nuts. I walked up to him, and that's when I was starting my summer parties were kind of stepping up a little bit. And I looked at him, I said, do you play in backyard parties? Just as kind of a joke.
Right.
And he looks at me, he's got a little bit of a southern drawl, and he said, big man, you write the check, I'll play all night long. And we got him. And
Nice.
I had him in my backyard, oh gosh, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times, I think, something like that. And when John proposed having this party to raise a little money for Ellis County CASA and do some stuff to help some kids, they said, well, what kind of entertainment would you like? And did I not?
So we got to go back to Jason.
Got to get Jason D. Williams.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's an unbelievable. I think he's one of. I'm serious about this. I think he's one of the absolute best live entertainers I've ever seen, and I've seen a bunch of them.
I bet you have.
But as far as just about an hour and a half of just setting your mind free, I would be hard pressed to pass on Jason D. Williams. I really would. I mean, I think he's that funny. He's that good. When I called his wife Jennifer, and I haven't talked to her in several years, I said, I hate to be rude about this, but because he is like 64, 63 now, and went, does he? When he goes, yes, Dale, he still jumps all over the piano.
Wow.
And he gets on top of the piano and he plays it with his feet and he plays it backwards and he rolls off. And she goes, motion is lotion. What we've learned is that motion is lotion.
Right.
And he has stayed in motion, and she goes, I promise you, the show's exactly the same. He's just an unbelievable showman. So it'll be a great night.
Where's he out of?
Louisiana, Arkansas, kind of back and forth around that area a little bit, and I think he might be back in Arkansas now. But as a Cowboy, he always plays a pregame and at the Cowboys parties. Jerry's a huge fan of Jason.
Wow.
Jerry Jones is a huge fan of Jason D. Williams, and so he's played at several of their pregame parties, and he used to play at all of their Super Bowl parties, and
All 3?
All 3 of them, and he hasn't played anywhere since 1996.
So how did this come about with the new Texas Theater? This is where the party's going to be? Yep.
He bought the
He
theater.
just renovated this thing, right?
Just renovated it. It opened at the end of March. And so if you haven't been there, it's a
I have
phenomenal
not been there
place.
yet, but I've
haven't
seen
either.
all the pictures
Very
on
cool.
Facebook.
Very
I mean,
cool.
they said he did a phenomenal job.
It's a passion project.
Yeah.
He's from Waxahachie. He bought a couple of buildings in.
Did he
downtown
also
Wax-
buy the radio station?
He bought the radio
Yeah,
station. He worked
KBC.
at the radio station as a kid.
Gotcha.
When Dell went on the ticket, John was telling us he worked as a ticket ticker guy. So he's kind of come full circle. He's a friend. We used to coach our kids football and basketball together, and I was having lunch with him after the Night of Love, and one of the things that we auctioned off was Dell at my house for bourbon tasting
remember this.
cards and
Yep.
cigars. And so it was like the Tuesday after Dell had been over on Saturday, and he said, how did it go? Because he wasn't able to make it. I said, it was a great time. We just actually finally wrapped it up because we paid off our last deal, and that was Dell at my house. And he goes, oh man, I love Dell, he's really into sports. Next day I'm driving downtown, I had something to do. I think, why don't we just marry these two? When Dell was at my house, I said, let's do your party. Man, I just don't think so. Called John, are you good with this? Should we do it at the theater? He's like, yeah, let's talk to him. So I called Dell. Dell's like, let me talk to Chris. I'll get back with you within a day. Calls me back. He goes, well, it's at least worth lunch. Let's get together, see if we can make it happen. We put this thing together in about 6 weeks. We We've been gas on. Place holds 240 people. There's not a bad seat in the house.
Right.
The last, I think, that goes through like A through F or H on the bottom floor, and then it's got a couple rows of seats in the upper mezzanine. Holds 240. We've got 64 seats left. It's $175 to sit on the floor. If you sit on the floor, you get to come to a barbecue dinner beforehand, little meet and greet with Dell.
And an open bar, by the way.
Open bar.
Oh, hey, you already had me there.
Wait, I thought you were
Say
trying
no
to.
more.
Thought you were trying to raise money.
Yeah, we're going to fuel that fire, and Jason D. Williams is going to light it on it. So
awesome.
if you don't want dinner and you don't care about getting there early and hearing some stories, we're going to do $75 to sit in the upper. And again, you know, that means you'll save about $10 on your bar tab, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We did the Janie Fricke concert. She had a concert there the other day, and she's still going strong. And I just love the theater, and I'm serious about this. I just have this feeling like it's got this brick wall behind the stage, and it's this real intimate, up close and personal seating. And I just felt like, Bob Dylan and Joan Baez is going to come out and start singing folk music, and Tiffany's eyes just glazed over again, checking her phone to see who the hell that is. But
Oh, no.
it was,
I want to see Bob Dylan show up.
oh yeah. But I mean, it just has such a great feeling to it. One of our sponsors, Bruce Hollingsworth, is like my best friend at Waxahachie, from USA Roofing, and he was sitting there telling me, well, I went to a concert and the acoustics weren't very good. And so I thought I'll go check it out when I saw Janie. And then Bruce was there with me, and I looked at him. I said, "Tell me again, the acoustics aren't great, because if you are going to say that, then you're deaf.
Right.
Because it's fantastic. It's just such a nice small area." And then during the Janie Fricke concert, I'm sitting there with the Queen of Waxahachie, Bonnie Ramsey, and during the Janie Fricke show, her piano player did basically a Jason D. Williams type song. And the place just went nuts.
Yeah.
And I looked over at Bonnie and I said, "Did you like that?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, my guy will do that for about an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I'm serious about this, that the people that were at the Janie Fricke concert, as good as that was in total, but if you remember that piano player that just lit the crowd up when he started pounding on the keys and doing some rock and roll boogie woogie or whatever you call it, Jason will do that nonstop, and he is nonstop, by the way. Once he hits that first key, the music just keeps coming, and he'll do it for about an hour and a half, and it's just taken me back about 40 years, hopefully, because I don't have that many left, so I want to do it around. I want to go around one more time.
Yeah. So you said you have how many? You have about 60 some odd,
60 tickets left.
and that's just, so all of the tables are sold out, or
Yeah. So we've got our sponsorships done. That's going to print. We do have the VIP booth. It's $5,000. It holds 14. Dell's secretly wishing that it doesn't sell. So
why is that?
there might be a couple people at this table in it if it doesn't sell. So
It may sell to someone at this table.
And the date of this is
What is it?
July 22nd.
It's
So it's Saturday night,
Saturday
July
night.
22nd.
6 o'clock for dinner and drinks,
Yeah.
and story time.
Yep.
Yay, stories.
8 o'clock for the show. So here's the deal. I want to do something. I love y'all's podcast. I've been listening for a couple of years. I want to do something in appreciation of y'all having us here. Dell will probably tell a story like this, but it's the all publicity is good publicity. He says, half the people hate me, half the people love me. I don't care. Just make sure they turn on the channel 8 at 10:25
Right,
every
exactly.
night, right? And so if people will take this post and in the comments put the time that Dell pissed them off the most, the hate story,
I hate story.
and or the time that they were most impressed, most excited, made a special mark on them, then I've got 2 tickets for the winning post on each, and I'll
One that
let
gets
y'all.
the most thumbs ups.
Okay.
Or how are we
We'll
gonna
do that.
say?
We'll do that.
Okay.
Whichever one gets the most thumbs up,
All right.
and we'll run that. What do you think? Through Friday at.
you call it.
We'll run it through Thursday at 5 p.m.
Thursday the 20th.
Okay.
Works for me.
Thursday the 20th.
And we'll outline it in the comments.
Yeah,
You know.
and so here's the deal: if
That's
you buy your
next
tickets,
Thursday.
if you buy your tickets and you win them, we'll just give you your money back, or it's $150. It's a great donation to charity. But if you've got a funny story, put it on there. I love to hate Dell because of this, and Dell's mentioned me on TV a couple of times, and my wife says Dell and John have a love-hate relationship. John loves Dell, and Dell loves to hate on John. So
So we're gonna
that's my
hashtag
story.
it. What are we hashtagging it? I love to hate Dale.
Yeah, love or hate. Turn it on at 10:25.
You know, so that's so
Love or
funny.
hate, turn it on
So
to
before we
55.
started the podcast and I walked in, I was talking to Dale about the first time that I actually met him years ago when he was emceeing a yearly gala for Canterbury Episcopal School in DeSoto. And I was, let's see, he's 22 now, and he was in first grade at the time, so we're talking quite some time ago. I'm guessing 15, 16 years ago. And, I just kind of started in business, and my kids were going to private school. So I go to this gala, bought a new suit for it, the whole 9 yards. Somehow they set me at the VIP table with Dale, Chris, what did we say? The guy's name is Peter
Fifield.
Yeah, one of the board members of Canterbury or the developers or whatnot. Anyway, so I was young, and all these guys were big-time businessmen, and, obviously Dale's job was no secret at the time. But Peter looks over to me and says, "Who did you pay off to sit at this table?" And I was like, "I have no idea." So anyways, we had dinner. Then the live auction starts, and Dale gets up there to start raising money for Canterbury. And this one auction item was a trip to Virgin Gorda, and it had a reserve of $3,750. Well, a lot of the items, and I was going to go back to, you had mentioned that somebody had won a night at your house. Yeah. Well, how many times have you been an auction item? Because at that night, it was a round of four with Dale at Thorntree.
Thorntree probably back then,
yeah. And people, would bid on that. And
dinner at the house after the golf.
Yep, and raise big money for charities, or at this particular instance was Canterbury School, to raise money for the school. So I guess
we're doing an interesting auction item this time. We're offering dinner. I'll host the dinner for 4 people. And it's your choice, because we're going to have a bit of a mixture in the audience. So, some people might not want to come back to Waxahachie, but, then a lot of times people in Waxahachie don't necessarily want to drive up to Dallas. But so what we're going to do is you bid on the item, and it's your choice. I'll take you to a Dallas steakhouse, which would be valued for 6 people, somewhere around $1,800, $2,000.
Right.
Or if you prefer, we can go to the Prime, which I really enjoy, the Prime in Waxahachie, which would be valued somewhere around $1,200, $1,300 probably. Or the third option is 6 of you can come to my house, and we'll have a catered dinner, and you can drink all my margaritas and wine that you want, and that has a value of like $181.40.
But the experience is priceless.
You haven't seen some of these
Exactly.
people drink margaritas.
Yeah, the experience is good. But we're going to do, and I've done that for years. We have a little catered dinner coming to the house, and my wife makes it. We actually bought a margarita machine years ago, because
so often.
we're kind of partial to frozen margaritas in the summertime, and then we got a big wine cooler and all that nonsense. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But I've been doing this for a long time.
You've raised a lot of money for a lot of charities, I'm
People
sure.
have paid a lot of stupid money to hang out with
But
me. I don't know why.
at this point, do you just feel like a piece of meat?
Yeah, but I am prime rib though.
Prime rib. Yeah,
ever.
the night that I was talking about, I can't tell you how much we raised. People were paying thousands and thousands of dollars to play golf with Dale. I spent $8,000 on dinner at Tim Brown's house. I think you've been probably to his house to have dinner before.
No,
you
he never invited me to anything. I hope he hears this.
Well, that night I'm bidding against Rebecca Lopez. Okay,
Yeah.
And we get the bid up to like $8,000, and Sharice comes up and says, "Let them each." We'll do 2 dinners at that price.
Well, all right, but here's how fun. I love doing the auctions, and John was talking about getting an auctioneer. And again, I get it. It's a certain skill, but it tends to bore me after a while. You know, 'cause the auctioneer's kind of working for their percentage, and I'm like, no, I like to have a lot of fun with it. I make a lot of jokes, and I tease people as I did to you.
Oh, yeah, I had to write a $3,750 check because you just said I was paying it.
I'll find somebody and I'll shame them into opening up their pocketbook. But so I'm gonna handle the auction. But it's always funny to me to watch how people respond. Auctions are crazy. We were at an auction in Dallas, and I think it was for another school or something, and they had an autographed jersey from Don Meredith. Another reference for you, Tiffany.
No, I know who he is.
Stop! You don't know any of these names.
He's a cowboy.
Yeah, you're right. But this was Don was there. Don Meredith's actually there. So if you buy the jersey, you go backstage and they sign it, and it sold for like $10,000.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
So then they auctioned off a Roger Staubach, and Roger was sitting there. They offered
I know
off
who he is. I've met him.
Yeah, no, I know you know a Roger Staubach jersey. So I just wanted to kind of play hot big man. So I bet like $3,500 just to kind of, because all of a sudden I look around and the bidding stops.
Yep.
And I bought a Roger Staubach
You're like, oops.
autographed jersey for $3,500, which I felt kind of bad for him on the one hand. But I walked backstage and I'll never forget, Staubach looked at me and says, "You paid $3,500?
He said, "I had to give you one."
I said, "Well, I didn't really mean to." He goes, if you just called me, I'd have brought one and given it to you. And I went,
Right.
For charity.
But I've got a Roger Staubach jersey hanging up in my Eagle room at home. That every time I look at it, I go, "Remember, when you're at an auction, keep your hand down."
Hands in your pockets.
And tried to impress some guys off to the right of you just by, they outbid me. Never mind, And but I like doing them. It's kind of fun, and again, we got some decent items, and we'll raise a little money at that as well.
So you said you lived on Thorntree?
No.
Did?
No,
You played golf there.
Played golf
Yeah.
in Thorntree.
Played golf at
Wait.
Thorntree. I used to live in Keller until '99. Then I moved to Waxahachie. And we lived on the lake from '99 to 2016.
Gotcha.
And then we moved about 5 miles away on the other side. But we're still in Waxahachie. And I was telling John this story the other day. When we moved to Waxahachie, Helen Bryant wrote a column in the paper that Dale Hansen has finally found the land that he's been searching for. And he's moving to Waxahachie. And Aikman calls me and said, "I thought you said you were never going to leave Channel 8. And I said, "Well, I'm not. What are you talking about?" He goes, well, you moved to Waxahachie.
That's still in Dallas?
Yeah, and I said, "Where do you think Waxahachie is?" He goes, "Well, it's down by Austin because I pass it every year on my way to training camp."
No.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, "Yeah, you pass it on your way to training camp after you've driven about 24 miles."
What an Okie.
And I said,
What an Okie.
I said, maybe you really are as dumb as a lot of people think you are.
Too many
hits to the head.
Too many concussions.
Yeah, too many concussions. But he actually thought that I was leaving Channel 8 and moving down by Austin. But that's kind of the curse that Waxahachie, and I think this whole area has been dealing with. People who live in North Dallas don't understand how good it is down here.
I agree.
Midlothian.
Well, don't tell anybody.
I was going to
Well,
say,
we're gonna
keep it a secret on that
somebody
one.
might see this in California.
I
and
think,
it just
I
gets
think
worse.
Waxahachie. I think somebody told me this here today. They said that it's almost doubled since we moved there.
Yeah.
And they said the population of Waxahachie now is like 45,000. And unfortunately, the downtown area is built for like 18.5.
Yeah.
And every single car has to drive down 77.
Oh my God! And everybody goes down 77, and it's getting overrun. But then Jerry Jones buys about 1,000 acres here
Yes, he did.
off of 287,
Yeah.
and he said in one of the articles I read he wants to make it into Frisco South. I said, I don't want to live in Frisco South. I'm kind of torn. I like the idea of property values going up, and I'm sure a lot of the business people are excited about all the growth. I like living in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we moved to the lake at Waxahachie, we were on the south side. We were the only house there. The north side of the lake had several homes, big lots, but several homes. We were the only house on the south side of the lake. Then Bobby Glass came in.
We're familiar with him.
He built my last neighborhood.
Did he? Yeah. And decided
He was
to develop
he was
it.
my neighbor.
So
I think
in
now there's like 75, 85 homes over
yeah,
there.
there is. So in '99, when you moved to Waxahachie, I'm just curious, what makes Dale Hansen decide he's moving to Waxahachie? You could live anywhere. I mean, there's no secret.
But again, just that. I
tree,
wanted to
you
live
know.
in the country. As I always tell my friends in the Plano area and the Frisco area, we have trees down here.
Right.
which is a really
See
novel
the
concept to
stars.
them.
Stars are
And the
novel
land,
concept.
basically, here it is in a nutshell. When I lived in Keller, and we were looking at a place at Lake Grapevine, and it was $25,000 an acre, which seemed about right. And I tell this story because I think now it's dated itself enough. It's not that stupid. When we bought this place, we paid $4,000 an acre. And we were at the Citizens National Bank. Cindy Smith, a great friend of
Yep.
ours. And Cindy says, "Oh my God, Dale, they saw you coming. I mean, there's no land in Ellis County worth $4,000 an acre." And I said, "Well, $4,000 an acre on the lake seemed like a heck of a buy to me." She goes, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." I said, "Well, so you won't give me the money?" She goes, "Oh, we'll give you the money, but I just, you got." And then about 5-8 years later, they're selling lots for $100,000.
Right.
And we sold it for considerably more than $4,000 an acre. And every time I run into Cindy, I said, "Man, did they take advantage of me?" And she said, "We'd have never believed it."
Yeah.
Because, you go back 24, 25 years ago, and I looked at the guy and I said, "Well, how much you want for it?" And he said, like $4,000 an acre. I went, "Oh." And my wife starts crying and she said, "Buy it, baby, buy it."
Yeah. Sold.
She was all excited. She said, "Oh, Dale, baby, you got to buy this." I said, "I'll buy it for you, honey, but shut up, because those teardrops are costing me about $2,800 an acre."
Yeah.
So the guy tells me, this is true, we bought 40 acres. And he told me, what was that 40 times, what?
160.
160.
Leave it to the banker.
So I'm thinking, yeah. But I only wanted 30 at the time. And so I said, "Well, can't we just partition?" "Well, yeah, I really need to sell the whole 60. I said, "Well, I don't know if I can do that or not." Just trying to kind of play a game. He called me back and said, "All right, Dale, I'll make you a heck of a deal. You buy the whole 60, I'll do it for $640. I went, "I'm sorry, what again?" And this is after Chris was just crying all over the lot. Because we were right on I don't know if you knew where we lived there, but we were right out on that point. And I'm like, "Well, but you said $4,000 an acre." And he goes, "Well, and then you said you'd make me a deal if I bought the whole 60, and now you want $640,000 for an undeveloped piece of property?" And I said, "No, I can't do that." And I ran into Frank Zaccanelli, who was Ross Perot's right-hand guy, and he was the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. And Frank said, "Did you ever get that land in Waxahachie?" I said, "No, the guy's really trying to jerk me around. I can't get it." He said, "Let me talk to him." The very next day, Frank called me and said, "Yeah, you got it. And oh, by the way, there's an $80,000, you have to put the water line from..."
Yeah. Utilities.
And I knew that. I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "That's like $80,000. I said, "Well, that's fine. I knew that." He goes, "No, he'll pay that." So I got the land and the
And
free
utilities.
water line. And then the guy said, "Now, Dale, I wasn't trying to screw you on this." I said, "Oh, of course not. You just dropped your price by like $500,000. And I looked at Frank. I said, "Frank, I know your name ends in a vowel, but you didn't like threaten to kill him or something, did you?" He said, "No, they just did some business with the guy, and apparently," Frank said, "I'll bring you into some of our developments if you'll make the deal." And,
Yeah.
so I was kind of indebted to Frank Zaccanelli and have been for a long time.
That's awesome. So I would be remiss to have you on the show and just not ask the question, and then I want to get back to the party, because that's what we're here for, important and what's
because
important.
party.
But how's retirement?
I love it. I was I'm getting a little bit tired of everybody I talk to. The conversation begins with, "Have you had a knee replacement yet?"
Ew, who asks that?
And I've got cancer, really. I say, "Bob, how you doing?" "Oh, I've got cancer now, and I had to get a hearing aid, and I need a knee replaced." Well, I saw a T-shirt, and I might try to buy it, and it's like, I'm so old now. I hate the people that I hang around with because they're the same age I am, and that part I hate. But the simple answer to the question is, I love retirement. I was, speaking of stupid deal, I was at a doctor the other day, and he asked me the same question. I said, "Well, here's the way I look at it. I get up in the morning late, not always in the morning, by the way,
But that's
with
your
nothing to
prerogative.
do. I do nothing all day, and I do it incredibly well.
Yes.
The best thing about my life right now is that I have no structure in my life. I have no idea, pretty much day to day, what's on the agenda.
Right.
Unfortunately, many times the worst thing about my life is I have no structure in my life. But I got out of the television sports business game at the right time. I have I have no regrets. Every so often somebody will do something stupid. My wife will look at me and go, yeah, you kind of wish you had a platform tonight.
Right.
And I went, well, yeah, a little bit. But my wife and I have done some traveling. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to the Ozarks. We went to Phoenix on our way to the Grand Canyon with some friends. We went to Europe last year. We're probably going to go out to the Big Bend National Park in the fall. So we're hitting kind of the bucket list of travel that we never really did. And,
So have you had to pay to watch a ball game, or that'll never happen?
no, I don't. The only thing that scares me is I'm really starting to like baseball, and I'm turning into my dad.
Oh, but baseball is my
Well,
fave.
luckily for me, the Rangers have gotten really good at the right time.
Especially this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're very good right now. But no, I don't go to games much. I don't understand. I've talked to John about this over the years. I really don't understand why people do go to games. I mean, I'm glad they do, and I'm sure it's fun. But Mark Cuban, the Mavericks owner, always used to whine about me not going to any of the games and making fun of me because I was never at the games. I said, Mark, apparently you haven't heard. They have this really incredible thing called big screen TV.
Yeah.
And it's got
like being
replays available. I can watch everything. Oh, I don't miss anything if I have to go to the bathroom because it's right down the hall. My beer doesn't cost $14 a can.
Yeah.
You know, my hot dogs don't cost $11.50.
Guess what? I can have a steak instead of a hot dog.
Exactly. I mean, I really have. I'm trying to think. I don't know when the last time I've been to a game, and I'm talking even when I was working.
Right.
And a lot of people made fun of me for that, but I watch everything. I mean, I watched the golf this weekend, men's and women's. I've seen, I think, every Rangers game this year.
It's worth watching this year.
They're a fun team to watch. But I don't go to games, and I probably would have to pay, quite honestly. I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones would charge me if I wanted to get in.
You know, I'm a season ticket holder to Stars, and it is different though going to the game because you got everybody around you, the excitement, you know, this hype. And,
Yeah, but one of my problems is you get everybody around you.
I guess so.
Deeply, but like the Stars game is far different than any of those other games.
You are absolutely correct. In person. Tom.
In person.
I went to a Stars game, now that you mentioned it. I went to one of their playoff games last year. And in-house, because that game doesn't translate to television.
No.
And in-house, it's fantastic.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, I was also invited by the general manager, so I'm sitting in a booth.
I was going to say you had a nice cushy seat.
I had the big cushy seat, and I had the pretzels and popcorn and everything.
Somebody bringing booze to
I
your
don't
chair.
I'm sorry, but I don't like sitting in a jammed up section.
Oh, no.
Because back in my day when I would go, there would always be that obnoxious guy in the front who just screams like crazy. It's kind of like going to a concert. I hate people who stand up at concerts.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sit down! Sit down!
As a short person, I agree with you. But you
Right.
know what? I do call those like all the way jammed in seats. I call them the true fan seats because you have to be a true fan to actually be paying the money to go to those.
Yeah. I mean, it's an amazing thing. But when
But it's harder for you because
it used to be a
being in
little
the public
bit,
eye.
but it was actually kind of fun, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I've always said this. I got exactly the right amount, if that's a fair way to describe it.
right.
I've been with Aikman a lot back in the day, and it was ridiculous. I mean, this man couldn't go anywhere without a mob scene following him, and it was. We went to Omaha together for a high school graduation one year, and we're standing on Farnham Street, which is basically like 77, even more so. Farnham Street is the main thorough street through Omaha, Nebraska. And we're standing on a corner because a friend of mine brought his daughter, and they wanted to get a couple quick pictures and an autograph, whatever. And all of a sudden, cars started stopping. And I'm like, well, if you're driving down Farnham in Omaha, Nebraska, and you look over, wouldn't your first response be, is that Troy Aikman? And by the time you realize it is, you'd be 2 blocks down. No, these people looked over, they saw Aikman,
And stops.
and pulled over to the side. And Aikman looks at me. I didn't see it. And Aikman looks at me, and he goes, we got to go. I said, yeah, just say, no, we got to go now. And I looked back, and it was like a pack of zombies were coming toward me. And Aikman and I ran down to the restaurant. Then the next day we're playing golf, and it rained that morning, so the course was closed. They said, oh, well, if it's Aikman, we'll open it up for you guys. So we had a group at the Omaha Country Club, beautiful golf course in Omaha, and there's nobody there. And we're thinking, this is fabulous. We come up 9, there's like 150 people.
Yeah.
The word got out.
Got out.
And now they're all sitting there waiting for Aikman. And he was unbelievable. He signed autographs and took pictures. This guy couldn't, and probably still can't go anywhere without getting mobbed. Whereas I was kind of in between. There were a few times I'm like, okay, leave me alone. And thank God when I was really doing some of my crazy young stuff, we didn't have social media. So
Right, yeah.
Maybe he should have taken that Troy Aikman Auto Mall placard off the back of his car and they wouldn't have known.
It might have helped. He did say to me one time, I'll never forget this. He said, I just wish people would leave me alone and quit asking me for autographs. I said, I can fix that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
He said, oh, really? How do I do that? I said, quit playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, making $10-20 million a year.
Okay.
Take your billboard down off every freeway in North
Like
Texas,
820 all
selling
over.
something, you know. I
Yeah.
said, stop doing all these radio commercials and TV
Acme
appearances.
Brick.
Yeah, Acme Brick.
Yeah, Acme Brick, exactly.
Yeah.
I said, I promise you, we'll leave you alone.
Well, the damage was done by then. I mean, he'd already won 3 Super
It was.
Bowls.
I mean, but here's, I always wondered how this happens to athletes in particular. Troy Aikman, when he was a kid, practiced signing his autograph. He wanted to develop a way that
make it
this
quick.
would be a cool autograph. So he's 13, 14 years old, trying to create an autograph that would be cool to sign. And then 7-8 years later, he's like, I don't want to sign autographs. Leave me alone.
yeah.
And it happens all the time. I mean, everybody wants that claim to fame until they have it.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, I don't know how this sounds, but it's just true, is that I had just enough that every so often I get a speeding ticket and the guy would go, oh, hey, keep giving Jerry Jones hell, and
Yeah.
off I'd go.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would call the restaurant and said, sorry, there's not a seat in the restaurant. They go, okay, well, who is this again? I said, Dale Hansen. Oh, hold on a second. And now we got 2 seats.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, but then it wasn't always that good because sometimes I would be sitting there being overserved by an irresponsible bartender, and somebody would be sitting there watching, you know.
Yeah.
And, well, you know, it's a trade-off. It's a
Yeah,
trade-off.
I hear you.
By the way, I call Jerry Jones Skeletor. You're welcome.
So our event on the 22nd, we're raising money for
Yeah, so we're raising money for Ellis
Ellis County
Casa.
CASA. And let's talk about that and what they do.
Yeah, so just a brief overview. CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. And when a child is removed from the home by CPS in the counties that have CASA, which is the vast majority of Texas, the judge can assign a CASA. CASA originated in Seattle, Washington over 40 years ago. And a judge was sitting there making one of the most important decisions on this child's life, whether they were safe to stay in that house or not. And the judge said, this is impossible. How do I do it? I wish I had somebody to be my eyes and ears. I wish I had some way to give that child a voice in this courtroom. And so that's what CASA really does. You know, I served as a volunteer CASA with my dad, and I mean, we're trying to help the family do what it took to get their child back. You know, hey, you got to, it's not always abuse. Sometimes it's neglect, or,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes one parent's abusive, the other one didn't know. So how do you help get that family and that child to a good place as quick as you can? And it's a great organization. I started 15 years ago as a volunteer. That's actually how I met Dell. I reached out to ask for a golf donation, and later on just became friends over the years. And if I was going to a Mavs game, I'd go hang out with them, and just developed a relationship over the years. So it's sponsored by, as he mentioned, USA Roofing, Kevin and Darla Chester, Rhino Estates Group, which is Jackie McDonald, the local realtor, and then Angie and I have chipped in, and Dell and Chris have generously donated as well. So you get your tickets at thetxtheater.com, thetxtheater.com. Of course, we all know there's a Texas Theater in Dallas that's pretty famous as well. So make sure you're looking at the one in Waxahachie, not the one in Dallas. It's
Yeah, I wanted the Lee Harvey Oswald seat at
Yeah,
this
right.
one, but they said
Yep.
I had to drive north for that one, so I don't get to see it.
And then we do have an auction also, and Dell mentioned the dinner with him, which is really cool. That's always a good time. He was at my house 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, and I was upstairs or in the bedroom. I can't remember. I had to go do something, and I hear him ring the doorbell. I'm like, okay, he's walking into a room. He doesn't know anyone. He's met my wife 5 or 10 times. I'm like, I need to hurry up. And I can hear, and within like 7 seconds, he's like, all right, boys, let me tell you a story. And I mean, it's just like hanging out with family, friends that you've known forever. I've hung out with Dell probably averaged 2 times a year for 10 years, something like that, 20, 30 times. But, Dale has the most incredible memory I've ever seen. As y'all just went back and forth about the Super Bowl when we started it off, he can tell you stories from Jack Nicklaus about golf. Maybe we'll tell that story on the 22nd. That's a fun one. He's got some Jerry Jones stories that can't be on a recording.
I was going to say, we can't do those, but I might share them.
I bet.
So you got to be there for it.
I mean, you guys aren't friends?
There was a day, quite honestly, when I don't know if friends is the right word, but there was a day when we certainly had a mutual respect, and we used to hang out quite a bit. And when he signed Troy Aikman and drafted him rather in '89, we were at a club on McKinney Avenue, and here comes Aikman and Jerry Jones and Lee Steinberg walking in. Party just got out of control because the whole town obviously was excited about Aikman.
Yep.
And Jerry walks up and gives me his gold or black American Express card. He said, "Here, just take care of the tab when you leave." And Greg Aiello was the Cowboys PR director at the time, and he called me the next day. He goes, "I've never, ever had to make this phone call, but I'm told that you have the owner's American Express card." He said, "Can you bring it back?" And I said, "When I get back from Paris."
Exactly.
But yeah, he just had, and we used to do a lot of crazy stuff together and hang out at those Super Bowl parties that we were talking about and the like. And then when Barry Switzer came along, it all kind of went straight south after that. And
For everything.
For everything. And Jones told me I needed to stop criticizing Switzer, and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
Maybe he should do a better job.
Yeah, gee.
Maybe you should take coaching lessons and become a real coach.
And I don't want to get off on that tangent because
we've been down that
keep
road,
focused.
yeah.
But I've always said I could have won the Super Bowl that year.
Well, I'll give you the best one, and I think the statute of
And
limitations
there was still
is,
Jimmy's.
the statute of limitations is up on this. But Aikman said to me, in fact, it was on the trip that we made to my hometown for a little scholarship I used to give away. Aikman actually said to me at one time, that my mom, meaning he said, my mom could have won that Super Bowl with Barry Switzer.
Right.
So I've got Mike Fisher, the Cowboys beat writer now, has a like Cowboys.com or whatever, and we're live on Channel 8, and Mike Fisher says to me, he said, "So you don't give Switzer any credit for winning that Super Bowl?" And I said to him, "My mom could have won that Super Bowl." And he said, "That's ridiculous." He said, "Nobody believes that." And he knew that I knew that he knew. And I looked at him, I said, "Well, we both know somebody believes that." And he's like, "Well, yeah, you're right." So now we're on the plane flying back to Omaha, and Aikman said, "Hey, thanks a lot for throwing me under the bus."
No one said that word.
Yeah, and I said, I didn't mention you. He said,
Guilty
"Really?"
conscience.
He said, "Who's on the plane with you flying to Omaha?" And he said, "You don't think maybe that I'm flying to Omaha with you to hand out a graduation gift and nobody knows where you get all your stuff from?" I went, "Well, you might be right about that." But obviously he was bulletproof and he survived it. And if Barry Switzer, I think Barry Switzer connected the dots as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's absolutely true. With that coaching staff, and I said this, and I don't mean it as facetiously as some people think I am. My mom could have won that Super Bowl because the players would have liked my mom a great deal more than they like Barry Switzer.
Right.
And she was smart enough to just look at Joe Avazano and Hudson Houck and all the great assistants they had in place and go, "I'll be over here." And instead, Switzer just kept trying to get involved and kept interfering. And I can do Switzer stories forever, but that was probably the single biggest ridiculous move, and Jerry's made a lot of them.
Oh, a whole lot.
But that was the one that was to me was always been the defining moment for the demise of the Dallas Cowboys as we've known them, or some of us have known them in our lifetimes.
So, in your expert opinion, you think we'll ever get clicking? And I mean, how far are we away from?
Well, they're not that far away. I mean, my standard line is, well, they're not going to win in my lifetime, but that's only a couple of years. So I mean, that's a big deal.
Come on.
I'm like, no, I still think there's just something. And this is, Aikman made this comment, and a lot of people were making fun of him. He said, well, they just don't play their best ball at the most important time. And everybody was like, duh. Well, yeah.
I mean, neither do the Rangers. So.
But no, exactly. But there's something, and I don't know what it is, but I think most of you guys might agree with this. The great athletes just know how to win. And some great athletes are fantastic. Like in a golf tournament. They're fantastic Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
But Sunday, we're down to a small number that can actually close the deal.
Yeah.
And I think it's true in almost every sport. And for whatever reason, Dak Prescott, who I think is a very good quarterback, they just don't play
He's not a closer.
Their best football, and he's not a closer. And the problem is you need to figure out some way to break that cycle. Because I just can't help but think in the back of their minds, if they're in a struggle in the fourth quarter of a close game, Aikman, Staubach in particular, Aikman was the same way. We'll win the game. We'll win the game. And I think there's a great number of fans who feel this way, and I'm just not sure that Dak doesn't feel much the same way. I just hope we don't screw this up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, just like Romo did so many times.
Which I think Romo was a fantastic quarterback. Best on paper.
Choke moment.
Well, but see, that's my other part. He's on paper. I'm not a Romo fan like a lot of people were. But it's kind of the same thing, is that I'm not interested in how many touchdowns you throw. I'm not interested in how many yards you have passing. I'm interested in who did you beat in the playoffs.
Right.
And Romo didn't beat anybody. No.
So what you're saying is always be closing. ABC. Always be closing.
Always be closing is great. And they've got, and again, but this is true of every day. They always talk about, the Cowboys had this great offensive line. Every team in the league has a great offensive line. Every team in the league has 5 guys across the front that weigh over 300 pounds and can bench press 550. Every team in the league has a running back who can run about a 4.5, 4.4. Every team in the league has 3 tall guys that can run about a 4.4, 4.3 on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, it's paper thin.
Yeah.
It's paper thin. And almost every football game comes down to 2 or 3 plays. And Aikman and Emmett and Irvin used to make them back in the day. Roger and Drew and Tony Dorsett made them back in the day. Romo didn't make them. Dak doesn't make them. And, someday, but they could. I mean, I would say right now, they're one of, top 10 teams that could win. I don't think they will.
Then you have Tom Brady, who's done it with no names.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. Who played, But then when you've got an owner that chops off the coach at the knees, you got an owner that gives Zeke Elliott $15 million, which interferes with the entire payroll structure of the roster. Name me the last Super Bowl team that won because of their running back. Good luck with that. It's been 25 years. It's been 25 years. I mean, Terrell Davis with the Broncos, I think, was directly responsible for the Broncos winning that Super Bowl in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So that's a long time ago.
But since that time, you don't win in the NFL anymore with a running back, and Jerry still thinks it's 1993.
So I constantly talk about I use Jerry as the example of poor leadership always.
Yeah, I think so too.
I say lead and get out of the way. I say it a lot. In fact, I'm like, no. A good leader knows when to get out of the way of the people he's picked, and Jerry does not know how to do that.
I'll give you the best story to just validate that. He hired Bill Parcells, and as he said on tape when some punk kid secretly recorded him, he said he hired Bill Parcells because he needed the quality coach to reinvigorate the franchise base so they could build that new stadium. Parcells had that team winning. I think they'd have gone to a Super Bowl with Bill Parcells. I really do. But as Jerry Jones said to me and other media reporters directly, it wasn't fun for him because Parcells called all the shots. So he knew he couldn't fire Bill Parcells because ESPN in particular would just crucify him. You can't fire Bill Parcells. So he did the next best thing. He brought in Terrell Owens, who Parcells hated so much, he never even once referred to him by name, called him the player, and then he left. And then Jerry got Wade Phillips. And Wade Phillips is a nice guy, but Wade's like, well, whatever you want, Jerry. Happy to do it. And Jason Garrett, same routine. Well, Jerry, if you say so, And Jerry, the greatest talent that any great leader has is hiring good people, let them be great, let them share in the glory, and it will all come back to you. If you're the owner, you're the main guy, it will always come back to you.
Because you're ultimately the one that hired him.
If Jerry Jones had stayed out of the way, although I do think Jimmy Johnson was going to leave after 5 years no matter what, he leaves every place after 5. But if he'd have replaced Jimmy Johnson with a great coach and they'd have kept that organization intact, there would be statues and high schools all over town named Jerry Jones High. There just would. And now, unfortunately, when his time is up, I think people are going to sit there and go, oh, thank God for that. Because we need something different. He never allows great people to be great unless he gets all the credit. And I don't know any place where that works.
No, you're right. You're right. So next Saturday, well, not this Saturday, it's the following
2
Saturday.
weeks from
Yeah, I just checked my calendar. I'll
Philly.
actually be back that Friday. I thought I was going to be out of town.
You need to be there. It's going to be the place to be. Talking about the auction and Dell off, and Tiffany, say treat him like a piece of meat.
He is a piece of meat,
that's okay.
but prime rib.
So we
turning into a little bit of a rancid hamburger if I'm not careful.
No, you're good. You're good.
We've got a fishing trip at Richland Chambers with Ross Reamy. He's a fantastic guide. Me and my kids went out with him. Y'all might have seen the pictures on Facebook. 22 minutes, we limited out. So then we had to go catch a different fish. The ice chest was so full of fish, literally they kicked out of the ice chest.
Wow.
I mean, as fast
Were you
as we could.
comparing?
Oh,
Like, oh no, this one's
we
bad.
were
We're
doing
going
nothing
back.
but like drop, rinse, repeat. I mean, it
Nice.
was insane. We've got a really cool music package. So,
Nice.
Dell is friends to many, and so a good friend of his for 30 or 40 years is a Nashville music executive. And so he sent me a box with a Kenny Chesney autographed album,
Oh,
Dan
Solid
and
like
Shay
that.
concert poster,
Oh, wow.
Was there lyrics in there? It didn't have an actual
some
lyric sheet
sheets
signed?
from Dan and
Oh, that's
Shay
super cool.
that were
Cool.
like really cool, like calligraphy, and then they autographed the lyric sheets of some of their songs. We've got
What's a hunting trip to Argentina?
a red stag
Oh.
hunt
Oh,
in
wow.
Argentina. So
Well, that's going to go for some money.
that's going to go for
Oh,
some
yeah.
money.
Really? Is it really? I mean,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what
it
he
is.
tells me.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
I don't know. There was another one that was like that was auctioned off recently. Wasn't it a Night of Love?
We had an Argentina, and then we had an African safari.
So the Argentina one, how much did that one go off for
The
last
dove
time?
hunt went for like $2,300, I think.
Okay, that's not
So
bad.
this red
That's not bad
stag
at all.
hunt is you have to pay for your airfare, so there's some expenses, etc. It's
That's
a
the cheap part.
$7,500 if you wanted to buy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
what is exactly? What is
The
a
red
red
stag's
stag?
like a-
It is the holy grail of trophies.
horned.
Massive, just freak.
Really?
racks.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
it's something.
Like a moose meets a bear, whose mother was an elephant, or what?
It's
is that?
just massive tines. Just they're unmistakable.
And it's Argentina. It's a cold lodge.
Probably 1,000-pound
How do you
animal.
bring that back?
1,000 pounds.
Like, do they
Oh, just the meat
does
on it
transport
itself
back,
is-
like included in that.
Could feed a
Part
village.
of the trophy fee is included in
Okay,
that.
okay, okay.
So
Wow. Wow.
It's huge. It's kind of like a moose, but a deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a moose deer.
and then I've got 2 MAV seats on row AA of section 124. So it's about
Okay.
15 feet to the goal, 15 feet to the visitor's bench. It's the first row behind the 3 rows of seats.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
about as good as you get. And we're going to do those seats for opening night.
John,
Oh,
you're
nice.
quite the philanthropist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's how I know you is through your
Yeah.
works in the community. As a matter of fact, you donated a vacation to the
Yeah.
Amanda Mayfield benefit, and
They just used it, right?
Well,
Is it
yeah,
this week or next?
I'm not sure when it was. I had won the bid,
Yep.
but then gave it to
Yeah.
Jordan and Amanda, so
That's,
they're going to go have fun.
Just real quick, John. I don't want to take anything away from the birthday, but real quick, explain the Night of Love, because I know that's one of your big things in town.
Yeah.
And we'll have you back to talk more about it as it gets closer.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So, my dad passed away from natural causes in April of 2021. He was sick since I was in the 1st grade. He far outlived his life expectancy. We cheated time. He was on oxygen for over 15 years. He had a kidney transplant when I was in the 2nd grade.
Wow.
I mean, he far outlived his life expectancy. Unfortunately, last May, so 13 months later, my mom was killed in a car wreck. And that is a call that you can't prepare for that call.
Kid was in the car too.
One of my boys was in the car, and when I got to the hospital, I was sure he was gone. I mean, like
Oh, no.
he was awake and he was conscious. He asked me the same set of 5 questions about 100 times in a 2-hour period. Same physical reaction, and I'm like, hey, like the trauma doc met us at the door. I'm like, but you got to do something now. Like he's got to get in to get his cat. I mean, like
Get his CAT scan.
and she's like, we're working. And I'm like, you're not working fast enough. Like I just see him, I'm losing him, right?
Yeah.
Now, thank God, my kid's doing great. He recovered well, and he's going to live. He's perfect. I mean, it's a true miracle. It's hard. It was literally the worst day of my life and the best day of my life.
Yeah.
So my parents, Rob, I appreciate you saying that I do a lot of philanthropy work. My parents were great servers of the community. And so my mom loved big parties, planning events, doing good. And so literally her wreck happened on Wednesday, and Friday morning I decided I was going to do an event in their honor. And so her birthday is Valentine's Day. Knight is our last name. So it just all set up.
Wow.
It's
Not
like
a lot.
it was kismet.
And we did a fantastic event at Firefly Gardens here. Jamie Paris and her mom and brother own the place. It's right there on 287. Beautiful wedding facility.
My Aunt Jan.
Okay, awesome. Small world, right? Jamie just got back from Key West, but we had a fantastic event. It could not have gone better than we asked for. We raised $50,550 for Manor House.
Wow.
Nice. Manor House does so much in this community.
Manor House does so much, and that's like who my parents were. They were never financially rich.
Yeah.
They were never going to stroke a $10,000 check to a
Anywhere.
big foundation, whatever. But they knew the guy at the restaurant. They knew the waitress. They knew the guy at the cash register at the grocery store, and they would say, "Hey, you look like something's going on. Are you okay?" And the guy would say, like, "Yeah, I ran out of gas on the way to work. I don't know how I'm going to get my car home." And they'd be like, "Here you go. This will make it a little easier. Slip them a 20."
Right.
And that's the way I view Manor House, right? Like, Manor House is never going to change your life all the way, but they're going to get you stationed to
Kickstart
station.
you.
They're never going to let you just die in the street.
Right.
Yeah.
So Manna was the perfect partner, and their net after all expenses paid $50,550.
That's
It's
amazing.
huge.
So after I planned this, and it was going to happen no matter what, but God kind of speaks to you in those funny ways as you go. The week leading up to it, I was looking for a quote, and it said, "You die twice. Once when you leave you breathe your last breath, and once when
When they
people
forget
say
you.
your name for the last time." And so my commitment, my brother, my sister helped me with this, is my parents will never, as long as I'm alive,
Right.
and we will be doing good for this community for 50 years.
Yeah, your brother's an amazing guy too.
My brother's a good dude. My sister's good.
I've never met your sister, but I literally met you and your brother within the same quarter, basically.
That's funny. Yeah, small world. But yeah, so this just all came about because Dell's a great guy. He's always saying,
No. That's the only reason I hang out with you is because I'm from a horrible family. And we're all bad people. And I like to hang out with John because he kind of, it can't be that bad if you're friends with John Knight. So it kind of covers up all the warts that I'm trying to deal
I
with.
was going to say you get some good credits back.
Yeah.
I always say to people, and I've said this to Dell, so I'm not going to get in trouble. Everything you believe about Dell from TV is 100% true.
Yes.
Pompous, arrogant, loud, obnoxious. Maybe I haven't said all of that. No, I'm just joking. And I said, and what you don't know about Dell Hansen is he's the most generous person I've ever met. I literally, he did a story about Jerry Sandusky, which, kind of speaking of child abuse, and one of the most disgusting, horrible stories ever, that a grown man would see that tight ends coach. Just that one kills me.
Yeah.
That you would see this happen and you would ignore it because it wasn't good for your career. So Dell does a story on Jerry Sandusky one night. I think in personal tie, very vulnerable, and just really hits the mark, and I think probably will change the way child abuse reporting happens. So I just email him at Dell at Channel 8, right?
Hey, that's the best pick to try to figure it out.
I don't think I'm ever going to get a response on this. Hey, amazing story. Appreciate the courage. And I haven't told Dell this. I don't know if you remember how we met. And 30 minutes later,
Ding.
he emails me back. Thanks. Wasn't that hard to do. It was the right thing to do. I'm glad I did it. Something like that. So I used to be the board president of Ellis County CASA. and we're doing our big auction. And so I just take that same string and say, hey, Dell, one time I was at an event and I saw somebody donate, another sportscaster donate this. Would you donate a round of golf? And he goes, yeah, round of 4 at Dallas National, breakfast beforehand, drinks and cigars afterhand. And we show up and Dell's like, we're old buddies. And we had a hell of a time. And me and one of my best friends, there's 4 of us, had planned something after that with our wives, and we're like, just meet us there. Just go inside. And we're like, he's like, one more story for you. I'm like, God, how do we screw this up? Like, we're having a hell of a time. Why are we leaving?
I love doing that kind of stuff. We had a lot of people to the house over the years. I auction off dinners at the house. And everybody's like, that's like the craziest thing ever. I said, no, that's my life begins and ends on the patio when the lights come on. And I hold court, basically, I guess, on the patio. But we've done this, we've done this 100 times over the years. And I've had 2 bad groups out of the whole deal. I had a group at Dallas National one time, and I said, guys, we got to go. It was like 10 o'clock at night. So we'd been there like 12 hours. And I know where my bar tab is headed for all you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, well, can we get 1 round of drinks before we go? And I said, yeah. And I told the bartender, give him a final round and out the door. And the next day I come back out there to play golf, and they had to throw him out of the club about 1:45 in the morning. And they started ordering the most expensive wine, and so my bar tab was into the several thousands of dollars. And then the club instituted a new policy that if you leave the club, your guests leave with you. Kind of referred to as the Hansen rule.
Right.
It's okay. And then a rule named after me.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. But then we had one group at the house one time, and the wife got in a fight with the husband about something. Next thing you know, she storms out. Now the guy's there, and so the other wife gets mad and she leaves, and now there's these 3 guys sitting by my little back door pool, and it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, which, as John also knows, I don't tend to stop very often if I get started in the right way. But finally I just said, guys, you're going to have to get out. I'm sorry, but the other 98 were fantastic, and I've still got a lot of great friends from people that I met through a dinner and a charity auction.
Yeah.
But I like doing things like for John's group of CASA because, Texas government cares a great deal about the life of a child right up until they're born.
Right.
And then it's, hey, hang on, so you need people like John, and you need people that are involved with CASA to step in and fill that void.
Man, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's just tragic. You look at our public education system, and you and I were talking about this earlier, and my granddaughter rather, is a teacher in Dallas, and she calls me every year asking for money because she needs to buy pencils and chalk, paper, and I'm like, well, no, the school doesn't provide that for me, Papa. I need, So I write her a check, and I did it for my daughter before her, because my daughter was a teacher before my granddaughter. It's just obscene sometimes what we do, and more importantly, don't do for kids. And then when you see, the kids that John and others deal with, it just breaks your heart.
Yeah.
So if we could raise a few bucks by celebrating my birthday, I'm all in on that.
Let's do it.
And I think July 22nd will be a fun night.
July 22nd, Texas Theater.
Texas Theater in Waxahachie.
Dale, I could keep you here all night, and I want to respect your time, but we'll wrap it up. John, I want to revert to you, and then I'll close this out. But anything you want to mention as far as details go? Let's relive the whole.
July 22nd, Texas Theater. Get your tickets at thetxtheater.com. $75 to sit in the upper, $175 to sit in the lower. Have dinner. Both come with open bar. It's going to be one heck of a party with Jason D. Williams. If you're going to be at the dinner, it's like about 100 people, so pretty small crowd. Dale's going to tell some stories. Some of those ones that we can't tell because this is on tape. So we probably have to check your cell phone at the door. But we'll give you a minute to go take a picture with Dale at the end. And it's going to be a great party. Thanks to USA Roofing, Kevin and Darla Chester, Jackie McDonald with Rhino Estates, and
and you, sir.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have happened without you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Don't miss
John.
it.
And John Knight of John Knight.
of John Knight trademark.
Yeah. Be there.
Registered trademark.
You don't want to miss this one.
Well, John Knight, Mr. Dale Hansen, I thank you for gracing us with your presence and
It
telling
was
us
my
some
pleasure.
stories. And everybody, if you haven't bought a ticket, there's only 65 of them left or so. Follow the instructions, get there, enjoy the festivities, and let's raise some money for Ellis County CASA. Midlothian, Ellis County, we love you guys, and thank you for tuning in. Siemens City Chatter Podcast. Rob LaFleur, John Opoka, Tiffany Cara, the man, the myth, the legend. I
Oh,
didn't get to
please
give him the
stop,
proper introduction,
please
so I'm going to send him
stop.
out on a blaze of glory. Midlothian's sexiest narcissist, Tim Wilkins.